Why do you use your own blood in performances?
Because I do not have yours.
Well, it's not on offer, my blood. Thank you very much. I'm using it. Welcome to Artipoeus, art you can hear. This week, Artipoeus talks to Russian performance artist Leonid Tsoy. In 2015, while I was still living in Paris, the curator and artist Anna Tan was putting together a group exhibit and performance festival in Paris between Russian and Ukrainian artists at a point when relations between the two countries were violently escalating. She organized plane fare and accommodation for the visiting groups, but found herself short on housing for a couple of Russians at the last minute. I thought hosting a Russian artist could be an interesting way to spend a week, so I volunteered to put one person up in my flat. I was assigned the performance artist, Leonid Tsoy.
Whose blood would you prefer me to use?
I opened my door to a man about my height, jet black hair tied in a messy man bun, scruffy beard, a kind but unreadable face, who was doggedly shuffling up the steps the same way Toshiro Mifune shuffled into that fateful town in Yojimbo. He settled into my living room, offered me pizza and port wine, and so began our friendship. Leo lives and works in St. Petersburg, Russia. He works as a private psychologist and with the charity group Perspectivi, where he helps run art programs for severely disabled adults. As an artist, he is a member of the art collective Bobo, which focuses on art in intimate spaces, from inside your home to, as Leo puts it, the intimate space inside your skull. He also is a member of Rodina, an art collective that focuses on political performance art. As an independent artist, he has performed in both Europe and Russia, and still occasionally indulges in visual art and drawing, including his very cool concept graphic novel called Learn Chinese from Mutant Women. Leo and I have continued our friendship via Messenger and Skype, with Leo telling me things about life in Russia that never get into the news, like the AIDS epidemic there, or the systematic destruction of food shipments while people are starving. I share tidbits of American culture, film recommendations, and my thoughts about art, politics, and society. We have often discussed the benefits of an American-Russian collaboration, although we never had our own governments in mind. Until now, of course. As we enter this brave new world, I sat down with Leo to talk about where things are going for artists, the importance of artists to this new era, and Leo's political performance work with the group Rodina.
The group is growing at the moment, so I cannot tell you how many people are exactly in the group, but it is 10, I think.
How many did it start with?
We started as 3 persons, and now we decided we're like a bit of stuck and a bit of tired of each other. So we decided to grow and took some people in, but we didn't count them. we succeed to take in 2 persons, like officially, with a kind of ritual, and we will repeat the ritual on the beginning of 2017. So after January, I could tell you about how many are exactly in the group.
You're doing an initiation ritual?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh.
The performances are actually quite different. We do it both indoor and outdoor, and so when we go outdoor, it's not a performance, maybe it's an akция in Russian, action, a street action, intervention in the urban space, and sometimes we involve the spectators somehow, and sometimes we just make a more classic performance when people just have to watch it, and sometimes there is some text and speech, and sometimes they're silent. The latest was this initiation ritual when we fed our new members and ourselves with this soil, and then we fell down on the ground and took a kind of sleep. It was in the open air, in the space in the center of the city, which is called the Field of Mars, Marsovo Polе. And it is actually the graveyard for the victims of the revolution. So it was the day after the terrible bombing of the Aleppo took place. Okay. So it gave another aspect of sense to the action.
Okay. Is this the same group that you were a member of when I first met you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I came to Paris as a member of Rodina.
When you came to Paris, you were doing a different performance.
It was not the first time, but the second time I was in Europe, and the first time to make something, like make some art in Europe. And I was thinking, like, what could I do? What a Russian artist can do in Europe? And I was thinking about selling my soul. Because many people come from Russia to Europe, like in search for the better life. And there are some like usual talkings about like people who leave the country, like they sold their soul, and like this is considered kind of a betrayal or something. So I did it, and I tried to make an object which could represent my soul properly, and I thought of bread and blood as a material, because this Christianity thing and the soul is comes more or less from Christianity. So and the other traditional mark of the soul leaving the body are the points on the eyes, like for the transportation to the world of the dead in the ancient Greece. So I made this and put it on the eyes of the mask of bread and blood which I made. And in the explication I wrote that this object incorporates my soul completely, but nobody wished to buy it. So no. I still have.
Nobody bought it. But you wore a bandage over your eyes, I remember. You sat at a table with the bread that you mixed with your blood, right? And how did you get your blood out of your body into the bread?
With this injector.
A syringe?
Yeah, syringe.
So that was messy, I remember.
Yeah, I think so, because I made it blindly.
Right, well, maybe you have a messy soul.
Everybody does.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, and how much were you selling your soul for?
I was planning to spend the money for political prisoners. No money came.
but what was the price of your soul?
Price? I think it was 500 euros, because I saw it was the time of Christmas sales in Europe, and I reduced the price like 50%. So originally it is 1,000.
Originally it's 1,000. And then if someone had bought it, you were going to use the money for political purposes.
Yeah, kind of, because it was also the time when the most famous Russian artist, I think, Russian political artist, got to prison, Pavlensky.
How were you going to help him?
Like support, he needed money for the lawyers and stuff.
But don't you think that if you sell your soul and now you're a soulless entity, and then you create political action as a soulless person, even if it's for an idea that might be good, don't you think in some way you might still be contributing to the same thing? I mean, because aren't most political actions and most politicians without a soul or soulless, it seems? I mean, isn't that how we got ourselves to where we are today, with Donald Trump as president and Vladimir Putin doing his Putin things?
I think it's a good interpretation.
Yeah.
But I was putting in the different sense, but I like your way of thinking too, because I didn't explain like the complete sense of this, so it could be read more deeply without it. I didn't explain it because it kind of makes the spectator think the one way only. But I like your version.
Oh, thanks.
But my version was different. Like it is also a time in Russia when we have this. A terribly increasing influence of church. Even Christians, they think it's wrong, because
really?
the church behaves really like ugly, like fascist behavior they show. So I was kind of mocking this Christianity concept of soul. For me, it's impossible to sell it if it exists. I'm not Christian, and so actually, technically, I don't have the soul. So I don't have anything to sell. And even if I thought I had a soul, like how is it possible to sell it physically? It's impossible, right? Like so everybody is a soulless creature, or everybody has the salt, and it's impossible to sell them.
Well, I didn't know that the church was gaining influence in Russia, in Russian society. Which church? Is this the Russian Orthodox Church?
Yeah, sure. Russian Orthodox Church.
And it's becoming more conservative?
Yeah, kind of. And but they are not becoming conservative.
They are conservative, yeah.
Yeah, they just are conservative, but they got this influence because the power, the authorities use the church as another channel of propaganda. They're increasing the authority of each other. The church approves what government does, and the government is
supporting
church to comment on some of their actions.
Has this happened in Russian society before? It seems to me that this hasn't happened in Russia in a really long time, no? Where the church and the state work together.
Well, yes and no. As they say, I don't know it myself, but they say, like in Soviet times, many priests were working with the secret service. So they just keeping the same thing too, but they are making it open. They have these official media channels to speak out. But yes, there was no such thing in Soviet Union as a church propaganda. It's obvious because it was the atheist state.
Right.
And but back there, before the revolution, some very similar phenomena took place. Yeah.
Huh. Let's go back in time just a little bit and tell me how you became an artist.
Do you have another 3 hours for? Okay. Actually, I wanted to become an artist back there in school. Mm-hmm. And when I was 24, 25 years old, I got into some very interesting interactive project of an installation where everybody could take part, and I was involved in that project very much. Mm-hmm. And there I gained some approval, or how to say it, they told me I am good enough in the art. So I think I can date back my artist identity to that time, 2004. Then in 2010, 11 it was, yeah, when the Pussy Riot case was in the most loud time of this story of Pussy Riot, the trial. Then I thought of the political art as actually the main art media in Russia today. So if you do some art, it has to be kind of political performance or nothing, I think, because it's political performance is in your rock and roll.
What about the Pussy Riot trial specifically made you want to become engaged politically?
I don't know, it touched me. They did nothing and they got to prison for 2 years for a song.
It was such an unfair trial.
It was not only unfair, it was very absurd. And it was very ugly and grotesque. And it was also considering with some innocent people who are artists. Mm-hmm. And I considered myself an artist, and so this is just professional solidarity. Okay. So that's the thing. And what we need in Russia, everybody says we need some trade unions, mm-hmm. Which are really working. So maybe the art people have to start the movement, this professional solidarity movement.
Like trade unions?
Yeah.
What is the status of Pussy Riot now?
They're making some charity projects.
They're released from prison, all the members.
Yeah, right. And they also make the music videos as they became a famous pop group,
right?
Pop music group.
Right.
And everybody's blaming them. They use their fame in vain, kind of. But I'm okay with them. And they make with this very important media project about they gathering the information from prisons, and they make this magazine, web magazine, the Media Zone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm reading it every day.
But I mean, that's the same as an artist like Ai Weiwei. Right? I mean, he became famous from going to prison in China, and then he uses that to further his political art, right?
He was more or less famous in China before imprisonment because he's a famous architecture.
Yeah, but I mean, he received international fame from his imprisonment.
No, it was also before his imprisonment, I think. But yeah, from the this repression thing, yeah, he gained much fame. The government just helped the good thing to happen.
What other performances have you done? You were in Paris, where I met you.
Right. After this Paris, there was my first experience to perform like abroad. Was in Paris, and the second time I performed like not long after that in Hamburg. I repeated the thing, and also no one bought the object, but some people just gave me some money, and I put it in this refugee welcome box.
Okay.
After a few months, I went to Denmark. There was as a personal artist. I performed there 2 times, one in Aarhus, which is the second biggest city in Denmark. Like during the first performance in Aarhus, I made them a mask of myself, and it was also covered with blood. And in Copenhagen, I put this mask on and also was wearing it for 24 hours and making a tour through the city, like wearing this bloody mask on. I made some sightseeing and selfies.
Were you acting as both a tourist and a refugee?
But I'm not sure if I can act as a refugee.
Right.
But I was thinking of that, and the performance was called the Art Asylum, and the main place we went in was the Museum of Sculpture in Copenhagen, Glyptotek. And very many researchers now say the museums are the kind of asylums. It's a ritual to visit a museum to get this psychological catharsis and to get on with your life more relaxed, and through this ritual you can refresh your psychology, your psychics. The museum is supposed to be a psychological asylum, and it's ritual of refreshing. So we made some photos in this museum. Yeah, it was kind of refugee, as everyone is kind of a refugee when he comes to the museum to get his portion of this art catharsis.
Right. You're a psychologist in your working life, right?
Yeah, I'm a psychologist.
So do you think that's true about museums, that they're places of asylum? They provide a type of catharsis and restitution for your spirit?
I think there is some truth in this interpretation, and for me it works. Yeah, I use the museums this way.
So that leads me to my next question, actually. Do you believe that art, political art, fine arts, or any kind of art can influence a person's mood and behavior and choices that they might make on an individual level in their life? You work with art therapy, right?
Yeah, kind of. I think the art can make this job too. And for me, as I already told in my story, for me it did. When I saw Pussy Riot on their case, I was my behavior as an artist completely changed. So I'm the example of the influence of art, and I kind of became very much more politically involved after this.
Do you think that art and artists can influence governments and societies?
Yeah, this too, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what Pavlensky, for example, is trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Do you think as an artist you have a responsibility to do that, or do you think it's the individual choice of the artist?
I think it's choice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It could be very the art is supposed to be to make the world happier, not more cruel. And if it was such a thing as a kind of a debt, you have to do something. If you are not, it doesn't make any sense. Then it's just another prison.
Yeah. But what about art that is really dark and confrontational? I mean, like you're with your soul, or wearing a bloody mask around Copenhagen. I mean, upon seeing that, some people might think, oh, that's very negative or very, very aggressive and confrontational. Or the art of Polanski or Ai Weiwei or any politically active artist is often it's kind of in your face, usually. How is that making the world a happier place?
That's a good question. maybe happier is not a proper word. Maybe, but yes, it's happier too. But it's not happier like at once. But yeah, they just kind of make you work. They work and make the world happier, but not they are making the world happier like at the moment.
So it's not instant happiness.
Yeah, but when I was wearing my bloody mask, actually only one person told it was kind of scary. But I received several kisses from strangers.
Really?
When I was wearing.
Serious? You feel that art works towards engaging people to motivate them to make the world a better place?
Yeah, for me, it definitely does.
So what's the situation now for artists in Russia? Is it getting any more difficult? Is it exactly the same? Do you feel your work is having an impact on anything, or?
Well, I'm not an expert actually. Okay. But I think, for example, in Moscow, it's almost impossible to perform in the streets now. So, but the artists still are working, and they went into this micro-political level. They work with the institutions. They work with the places similar to work as a psychologist. Like there are some very interesting anti-psychiatric projects, and yeah, they switched the subject.
They switched the subject to fly under the radar a bit?
Well, it's. I'm sorry, I missed.
Did they switch the subject to sort of avoid obvious detection?
Yeah, I think so. But it's not like it's like inevitable. Like when they don't let you walk in the street, you have to work in some other places. So I don't think they are. I don't know what to say here.
You don't think they're trying to be sneaky, they're just being resourced.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's no. I think for me, it doesn't make sense to to make my way to prison. Like it's very easy, but it's not. I don't think it's. There's something new artistically in this.
Do you have fear of going to prison, of being stopped as a political artist?
Yeah, sure. Everybody does. And actually, in Russia, you don't have to be a political artist to get to prison. Yeah. You even don't have to make any sort of activity. You just can find yourself there. Like
anyway, that's nice.
Yeah, that's right.
So nice to hear. And how do you see, because this past year, the year of 2016 has brought a lot of big changes in the world politically and raised a lot of subjects that people throughout the world that people on average weren't addressing before. And how do you see art, the role of art and the role of artists as we move forward?
Oh, that's a big question for me. I'm not a philosopher.
No, but you are an artist. I mean, what would you like to see as an artist? What would you like to accomplish, or what would you like to do?
Well, we definitely have to do something.
Okay, well, so we agree on that. That's good.
And we have to do more. Like, we can use art as a way to confront them. Or even not to confront, even not to fight directly, but to make the existence manageable, to live our lives like more or less bearable, more or less happy. Like we could use some art ways.
How do you see that we could use art or artistic ways to make our lives more bearable?
Like the art provides some ways to speak the truth without actually saying the names.
Okay.
So, for example, we can speak the truth with art, or we can use the art as a way to make some social practices more popular. For example, some horizontal groups, like some self-organized groups, which are very popular in art now. I think the art started to deal with this anarchist discourse, like maybe preparing for those political changes in advance. So the artists have much experience already for the society to make it work.
Do you feel that if artists can invite society to look into their lives and their ways of living, that this can be a positive influence on society in general?
Yeah, that's my point. But it is not only the positive, but as I said, we don't have much places to live, and the art is one of such places.
You mean to live and to express ourselves and to fully feel
live,
and
to live as human beings.
Do you feel that artists in general, or at least right in this moment in time, do you feel that artists maybe are more sensitive to the changes that are coming than the average citizen? Like you said, that a lot of artists are now sort of using anarchist theory or addressing anarchist theory in their work in preparation for things to come. Do you think in general artists are more sensitive to, kind of maybe seeing a bigger picture?
Much more sensitive than usual people that kind of bring the Superman thing into this. No, the artist is not Superman, but the contemporary artists have to know much. They're maybe more educated because the art began to be more the art theory than the art itself. Like back there in 70s, so the artists are more educated than some people.
Okay.
So they can really be helpful. They can be helpful. They're not better. They just maybe know some things as a student, not as they know it from God or something mystical. Just they learned it.
They've learned it. Well, they have a different set of knowledge, right? I mean, they kind of learn a different set of skill. Or you're an artist. You kind of learn a different set of skills in school and a different approach to knowledge.
I would better talk about the skills than about they are better, they are more sensitive. No, they just have some skills.
Okay, mad skills. What do you think about memorial art, like war memorial? Here in Berlin, there's a lot of memorials to the Holocaust. So there's, the Jewish memorial is very famous. There's a memorial to the Roma people who were killed. There's a memorial to homosexuals. There's big memorials and small memorials. There's brass plaques all over the city that mark the places where people lived before they were deported to camps. Do you think it's worthwhile? Do you think it can help raise awareness or prevent these things from repeating in the future? Is it simply always looking to the past and only serves as a memory and maybe not a warning?
It can be used as well to prevent some terrible events in future, but it has to be accompanied with some work of the institutions, like the educational and so on. Memorial art can be also very different. For example, the monuments to Stalin and Lenin are also memorial art, and as we can see in Ukraine now, they're trying to get rid of them the sooner as soon as possible. So it's also memorial art. It can be used, and it is used by the authorities as just a media, another media, and it can be read different ways, and even opposite ways. We have some new memorials in Russia today too. Like they are trying to make the new monuments to Joseph Stalin. It's also memorial art. So it can be good or bad. It's just this type of art is architecture or sculpture. They are very expensive, and they really require some help from the government to happen. So for me, it's not really an art. It's a kind of a strategy. It's kind of a media more. So.
Well, but don't you think that depends on the government?
These huge, expensive things in the urban space, they really require the help of the government. So the artist is not independent here. So it makes it not really the art. It's not the art. It's the way of propaganda, actually. And you can propaganda good things or bad things, like left things or right things. It strongly depends on the government, like this monuments thing. Yeah, as I said, in Russia we have kind of new monuments which are really disgusting.
Monuments to Stalin and Lenin.
Monuments to Stalin, monuments to some other There was a museum of the victims of Stalin terror in Perm city, and the government last year they changed it to the museum of the prison workers.
Oh,
So yeah, that's the kind of they can do to any monument actually.
yeah, that's a good point. You could just change the name and then change the meaning.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
Yeah, that's frightening. Yeah, so the art is not independent when it is like very expensive and solid and huge. The Statue of Liberty can really be changed to the Statue of I don't know, Revenge, for example.
It could be changed to like the Statue of Victory. I mean, what do you think about Donald Trump as president and all the stuff that's happening in the world right now?
This scares the shit out of me.
Okay, welcome to that club. But we're sort of being welcomed into your club, aren't we?
I don't know if it matters.
Why do you say that?
Whose club is that?
Yeah, whose club is it?
I actually don't think it is our club.
No, I don't think we're members of that club.
Welcome to someone else's club.
Yeah, kind of, huh? Do you think it will be more difficult to continue to practice your art in the coming years if things keep going in the direction they're going?
But it's not very easy, like even now. I don't know what to say here actually. As I already said, you can practice or not practice. You can get to prison and rush like this fast.
Right.
Well, my art is not that loud or that I don't know. It's not that hard to make me the problem for the government. Actually, I'm not Pavlensky. I don't make these kind of provocations, and I'm not that famous. I'm just a citizen. But the life in Russia is getting more and more difficult. It's not only about the art. It's more and more expensive. It's more and more, I don't know, more and more cruel.
Cruel?
So
How is it?
Yeah, it's difficult for everyone.
How is it more cruel?
Because people, they don't have much chance to react to the real problems, like which is their government. So they like react to each other in the cruel way.
I see.
They are more sad and angry. I can feel it, like, and it's increasing. Like day after day, I come and see more sad and angry people.
They're turning against each other, you mean?
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who are entering into this new era that you're a little more familiar with than Americans or French or
advice
or observations or anything that you can share that we don't know about that we should know?
Actually, I don't know. Find yourself a psychotherapist.
Oh, we can all hire you.
Yeah, maybe even me, if you can have another one closer. And actually, I mean it. And also, you have to find yourself a community. That's the main thing to do. If you don't have it, you have to start it.
That makes sense. To not be so isolated.
Yeah, but it's not only about this psychology thing. It's not only about the friendship and blah blah blah. It's also about the survival. Because you have to have a community to survive.
What's your favorite movie?
Movie?
Yeah.
Movie. My favorite movie. Apocalypse Now.
What? Apocalypse Now?
Yeah, sure. Marlon Brando. Forever.
All right. For more information on the work of Leonid Tsoy, check out our Facebook page for links to Leo's work with Rodina, Bobo, Work for Food Project, and Perspectivy Art Studio. We're at facebook.com/Artipoeus. Artipoeus is, of course, spelled Artipoeus. Artipoeus. Art you can hear.
Don't let Trump kill you.
Don't let Putin kill you.
Trump Putin.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that's we come to learn one day they are the same person.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes. Find out what artists and exhibits I'm loving lately. Now you can follow Artipoeus on Glarify, the interactive global mapping tool that lets you locate artist studios, openings, and exhibits around the world. Become part of your local art scene everywhere you go. It's free. Glarify is an official partner of Artipoeus. Visit glarify.com. Artipoeus is a proud supporter of Prana, the platform for the homeless. Prana is the only digital app providing direct connections with people, organizations, and dynamic real-time information about food, shelter, clothing, job-seeking, sanitary services, and medical help to the people who need it most. Help the homeless by helping Prana grow. Visit the website at www.pranaapp.weebly.com. You can find Artipoeus on SoundCloud and iTunes, WRP in Paris, and Indie Berlin in Berlin. And you can see photos and read transcripts of this episode and more at artipoeus.com. Artipoeus, art you can hear. Artipoeus is written and produced by Susie Colick with sound design by Greg Palmer, recorded and mixed in Berlin. That's all for Artipoeus this week. I'm Susie Colick. See you around town.